Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me on this Friday evening. Here in the UK, it's kind of like a big weather change for us. It's gone a lot windy, a lot colder, and you can tell the winter season is among us all here in the UK. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Brother Mustafa, I can see you in the chat. If you can type in one, and that would be fantastic. I had some issues with my PC and my mic, so can you just type in one that you can hear me? That'd be much appreciated. Okay, I'm waiting for people to type in one, but nevertheless, if you can hear me, that's alhamdulillah, fantastic. Thank you. We've got a very interesting show today, and I might be stepping on people's toes. And that's even before I even get the guest on. But I will be screen sharing some clips of some controversial people, individuals speaking on the situation and attacking other people for their stance regarding the situation in Syria. First of all, I'm going to play a clip from our brother Ali Dawa, and then, of course, I will play a response clip from the brother who he kind of aimed a shot at. So, brothers and sisters, really going to be a bumpy show. So please buckle in, fasten your seatbelts, grab some popcorn, and we're going to have a interesting show. Also, when the guest joins us later on, and we'll be talking regarding the situation in Gaza and Syria and what is next for those regions. So, yeah, get yourself some coffee and some popcorn. That's always a fantastic combination. So, here we go. I'm hoping it work, and please let me know if the audio is good. So here we've got Brother Ali Dawa, okay, and he'll be talking about the situation and also attacking another individual who's been on my show, and you'll probably figure out who he is throughout this discussion. But please let me know if the audio is good. Okay, no sound. I'm being told there's no sound. Okay, Brother Yemini, I can see you backstage. Any chance of you screen sharing that for me? And maybe I can play it like that. And it worked earlier, but I had some issues with my setup here. Let me try again. Um, no, let me try this. Okay, let me try this, and then I'll ask our beloved brother to help me out. Please type in one, and let me go back a bit. No. Okay, well, I'm going to try that again. There's no sound. So let me just share this link, and then I do apologize for that. I had some issues with my setup earlier. 1 second. see if that works. So if you're watching on Rumble, much appreciated. I can see Mike already in the chat. Mike, thank you for watching on Rumble. Don't forget to subscribe to my Rumble channel. It's called Abu Shoaib. So please go and subscribe if you've got Rumble. If you can make that, that's fantastic. So I'll be playing the clip now, brothers and sisters, and I really want you to focus on some of the discussions that is taking place. Bear with me. Here we go.
We have our great Imam, the big sheikh of our time, Faris Hamadi, at it again. So he is reacting to the rebels, who obviously the Western government has identified as a terrorist group, but they are actually having discussion about taking them off the terrorist group list. Now, depends. So our judgment is not really based on what the Western world thinks about it. The Assad regime has been taken over, a kafir, kuffar regime, who saw Assad as Allah, or their belief is that Ali radiallahu anh has the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here is Faris, again, showing his support to Muslims, saving the lives, if not of hundreds of thousands of people. What Assad done in Syria is, for some, can be as worse or even worse than what is going on in Gaza. He killed 600,000, they're saying, even more, of Sunni Muslims. Okay, I'm not going to get to the politics of it, but here is the video, and here is what Faris had to say. His support, as we know, for Gaza has been immense. For the boycott, oh my gosh, it's been speechless. He's supported the boycott movement so much. Go to McDonald's and buy McDonald's. Okay, we can clearly see where his allegiance is and for what reasons. Here is the video of the rebels. Again, I am not pro or against. I'm just stating, call me a journalist, whatever you want to, inshallah. Here is the clip of some soldiers under the rebels, the HTS group, and they had to say some things. And here is Faris showing his support on Twitter. Let's watch for ourselves, inshallah.
دخلنا مسجد بني أمية مطأطئين الرؤوس ذليلين لله سبحانه وتعالى خاضعين له سبحانه وتعالى نقول أن من نصرنا هو الله وأن الله تعالى بقوته هو الذي نصر لا بقوتنا ولا بحولنا. هنا عقر دار الإسلام، هنا الشام، هنا عمر بن عبد العزيز، هنا أرض الإسلام، هنا دمشق، هنا فسطاط المسلمين. من هنا يا قدس، من هنا قادمون يا قدس. صبرا يا أهل غزة، صبرا صبرا. تكبير! الله أكبر! لبيك لبيك يا أقصى، لبيك 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 يا أقصى، لبيك 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 يا أقصى. سائرون على طريق محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى طريق الصحابة رضوان الله تعالى عليهم 13 عاما ظنوا أن النور الذي انطلق من هنا من أول مظاهرة من هنا من المسجد الأموي عندما خرجت صيحات الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر ظنوا أن النور الذي انطلق من هنا من جامع بني أمية ظنوا أنه يخبو ولكن خسئوا وخابوا. جاءوا بالميليشيات وجاءوا بروسيا ودعمتهم الدول ولكن قلنا هي لله هي لله. صبرنا، جلسنا تحت الخيام، جلسنا بين الطين، نمنا على التراب، يقيننا بالله أننا منصورون وأن الله منجز وحده. فدخلنا نطع دمشق وندخل المسجد الأموي مكبرين مهللين. وكذلك بإذن الله وكذلك المسجد الأقصى وكذلك مسجد محمد وكذلك الكعبة ندخلها بإذن الله.
As you saw that for yourself. Now, as a Muslim, obviously there are certain things which I can deem problematic. For example, I don't know what they meant by we're going to take the mosque of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we can even say, you know, the fact that he didn't say peace be upon him or sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can give the benefit of doubt, no problem. And talking about Mecca, what does this mean? What do they mean by this? It can sound problematic. Are they trying to say that they want to overthrow those governments? There's a whole discussion on that. I'm not going to go to the nitty gritty. But what's very bizarre is the fact here. Faris is somebody who obeys the rulers. Yes, and I follow the sunnah, which is that we should not rebel against the rulers, 100%. But he is someone that at any condition, if they, whatever they did to his, if they were to come and do, you know, kidnap his wife or his daughters, etc., like it seems like at any cost, he will support the rebels. However, for some odd reason, we can say by Islamic rulings, if we look at it, that this group has taken over a Kafir government and now they are the Muslim.
If you can pause it there, Akhi,
we should not be speaking out against rulers, shouldn't we, Faris?
Just pause it there, Akhi. For me, brothers and sisters, I know there's a lot of brothers and sisters in the chat getting quite emotional, but our religion is not based upon emotions. It's based upon text and proof, adillah. So when those rebels or those fighters were giving out warning to the Muslim world that they are willing to take over the Prophet's masjid, also the sacred mosque, of course, the Haramain. And by doing that, there's bloodshed going to be involved. So this is the aspect you brothers and sisters have to understand. All well and good by them chanting Allahu Akbar and so forth. But the aspects, you've got to understand, the Khawarij in their camps, when the Sahaba went to the Khawarij to bring them back to the religion, they can hear the humming of as they got close to the camps of the Khawarij, because they would read the Quran, they will worship and so forth, you know, so much so. So we have to take that in mind before we start getting emotion and start taking sides. And this is not a shot at Ali Dawa or any of the brothers who I'm going to have on the show today. So I'm going to be very conscious about how I phrase my words, because of course I've met Brother Ali Dawa at Speaker's Corner, and I've had Brother Faris al-Hamadi on my show, on my channel. So I'm going to be very neutral. So I want you to really bear that in mind. So if you want to continue, Brother Yemini, and then inshallah that'll be great. If there's anything that you want to say, feel free.
Let me finish. First of all, assalamu alaikum. We'll let the clips finish, inshallah, and then we'll make our judgments based on that.
That whatever happens, whatever they do, whatever is for that matter, even they have ties with Israel, but they're committing atrocities in Israel against our Palestinian brothers and sisters. There should be diplomacy. The ruler should decide that. Blah blah blah. The ruler. You talk about the ruler so much and the rights that they have, etc. And it's from the Sunnah, of course. Certain things that you say, but you blur the lines. Why are you not respecting the new ruler of Syria now? I'm just asking a question. Why are you not saying? He's the ruler, he's the emir. Whatever he says, I like it or I don't like it. But all of a sudden, you are replying by saying what? You are calling them Khawarij. Number one, you're not qualified. You're a bodybuilder. You started as a bodybuilder. I don't know how you became a sheikh overnight. You're a bodybuilder. Yes? You never supported Gaza. You mocked the boycott movement. Yes? You're telling people to go and still eat in McDonald's. Your allegiance is very clear where it is, and it's been made very clear. Many times you've been exposed. But I'm asking you a simple question. This is hypocrisy at its finest. You talk about the Amir, submitting to the Amir. Why are you? Because right now, you calling them Khawarij actually shows you to be Khawarij based on your standards, because you are now rebelling vocally. If you remember, he was talking at one point that even if you vocally, speak against the ruler, you are what? Khawarij, or have the traits of Khawarij? Well, right now, you are speaking against a legitimate rulership. So do you not have the traits? I mean, it's like a mirror. The irony is quite funny. You are calling them Khawarij, but by doing that, you become a Khawarij. In your standards, by the way, I'm not saying anybody, because I know my place. What I can say, I should not say. You are not qualified to call anyone Khawarij. You are not qualified. You're a bodybuilder. You do bodybuilding. We should talk about that stuff. Yes, okay, you have never supported the Gaza cause or Palestinian cause. You are always talking about, oh yeah, we should support the rulers, whatever for that matter. And now, because of what they said, now, was it problematic what they said about taking over the Prophet Muhammad's masjid of Mecca? Yes, that was problematic. that seemed not only that, but nobody can come out and then say, because they said this, therefore they're Khawarij. Number one. Number two, these are soldiers. This is not the Emir. This is not Jolani. Yes, this is not him coming out and saying this. He's not saying that. These can be a few soldiers. And in fact, if an Emir, would you, if there was the ruler of wherever it is for that matter, that you bow down to at any cost, etc., if some of the soldiers made a statement without the authority of the ruler, you will make 1 million excuses that came from the soldiers. They didn't mean it like that. Da, 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 da. You make 1,000 excuses. Why am I not making one for them? Why not making one for them and say, you know what, hold on a second. The soldier said this, but this is not Jolani. This is not the head figure. You won't, would you? You won't, would you? Because the people above you, your puppet masters, they are the ones who are calling the shots, and they are using the sunnah to justify what they are doing. And again, I said it very clearly. Rebelling against a ruler, it's not good, and we've seen atrocities. However, Assad's regime, the kuffar, they are kuffar, okay? Assad, and they are kuffar, literally, it's clear, and the matter is clear. Even the Shia do takfir of them, yeah? So the matter is very clear. But I just want to show people your double standards and hypocrisy. That's what you are, and you are calling them the dogs of the hellfire. Anyone that comments attacking Faris, he puts a fire picture and a dog picture, meaning he sees them as the dogs of the hellfire. He probably deems them to be disbelievers, kafirs, if he follows that opinion. That's all I wanted to say, guys, and just say, you know what, these kind of people, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them. I'm not going to speak ill of him or call him names or whatever for that matter, because I don't want to give my good deeds to anyone like him. He's an opportunistic individual who looks for the downfall of others. He did the same with myself a long time ago when I had the debate, debate, etc. And obviously I did some things that I was not proud of, etc. That was not haram. He jumps at the opportunity, looking for the mistakes of anyone he doesn't like. And when it comes to the rulers and things that benefit him, at all costs, Amir al-Mu'mineen said this, khalas, etc. Yeah, and he decides who's Amir al-Mu'mineen. So for you to call them a Khawarij, it backfires on you, because this is an action, words against a legitimate ruler. So submit to him, bro. Submit to him. Till next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From London to Dubai, Faris, look after yourself. Take care. Carry on bodybuilding.
So, brothers and sisters, I really want you to digest that clip, and I want you to think about the things that Brother Ali Dawah had mentioned regarding Brother Faris. And now the next clip will be a response by Brother Faris to this particular clip. And then again, I want you to digest and really listen to Brother Faris's statements and his response. And let's try to be unbiased, and let's listen to both sides of the story. But nevertheless, I do wish and I hope that this is a beginning. This show might begin some type of negotiations between these two individuals, a private discussion to say, look, come on, we made some mistakes, or we said some statements in the past, and let's move forward for the sake of al-Islam, and let's, bury the hatchet, as they say. So shall we play the next clip? Okay.
Yep. Assalamu alaikum. I said I'm not gonna reply to this, but subhanallah, I'm shocked and amazed that there are some people who believe such nonsense, which what I'm about to tell you now, such nonsense that's been spread around. Yeah, and I said I'm not gonna reply to this, but subhanallah, I saw subhanallah, and some benefit would happen if I would reply and clarify such silly allegations and accusations that's been spread around about me. يعني الله عز وجل يقول في القرآن يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Allah tells you in this ayah, oh believers, if you hear something from a fasiq comes with some news to you about someone, confirm it so you don't transgress against someone ignorantly and then you become regretful about it. Because we all know in Islam, it is not allowed. It is a major sin that you slander someone, you talk about someone falsely, you lie against someone to cancel or to hurt his reputation or his honor. This is a calamity. This is, if kuffar do this. Even subhanAllah, even kuffar maybe don't do this. So I don't understand how a person who claims to be a da'iyah, who speaks about Islam, who represents Islam, supposedly, that's what he says, yeah, comes and does such a thing like that. Sallallahu al-afiyah was-salama. So this video has been going around saying that I was a bodybuilder, and then I suddenly became a sheikh, and that I'm talking against the rulers of Syria now. Yani subhanallah. And then he said three things. He said, I'm a bodybuilder, suddenly became a sheikh. This guy is talking against the rulers of Syria, and he's calling them Khawarij, me. And third, he doesn't criticize Israel. He never criticized Israel. And then of course he claims he does this, and like, I'm getting paid, and Inshallah al-afiyah. Wallahi, kadhib, kadhib. Yani, disgusting lies. I don't even know how this guy sleeps at night. Inshallah al-afiyah. He knows he's lying. Wallahi, he knows he's lying. Subhanallah. Yani, have no shame. You have no shame. Al-Muhim, to refute these three things. Number one, what does a bodybuilder suddenly become a sheikh mean? Like, what is a bodybuilder? Like, I was a professional bodybuilder? Is that what you're saying? If you think that having a gym membership makes me a bodybuilder automatically, then you are crazy. You're delusional. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I simply just go to the gym. I go there 4 times a week only, and that makes me a bodybuilder. Why is that? And suddenly became a sheikh? No, not suddenly. 15 years, and I'm not a sheikh. I'm a student of knowledge. I seek knowledge from prominent scholars and sheikhs here in the UAE, in Saudi, in Kuwait. They know me personally. You can ask about me. Ask Sheikh Muhammad Hisham al-Tahiri. Ask Sheikh Aziz Farhan. Ask Sheikh Abdul Aziz al-Rayis, Hamid al-Atiq. All these people, they're well known. There are many others, but these are well known. Mashayikh, go ask about me. Tell them, who's Faris al-Hamad? Who's this guy? Is he a bodybuilder? Who is he? Yeah. And I took the green light from some of the mashayikh. Can I do da'wah, Sheikh? After 15 years, more than 15 years of seeking knowledge, can I do some da'wah? Whatever I know, I can speak about. He said, go ahead. May Allah make you successful. That's number one. Number two, he said, I called the rulers of Syria today Khawarij. No, I didn't do that. There's a video. There was a man, unknown man. I don't know who he is, but he said, we will enter Medina and Mecca just like we entered the Umayyad Masjid. Yani, what does that mean? What do you mean enter? Oh, stop having fake husn al-dhan. This doesn't allow husn al-dhan, because we know there's yani, through time we know that there have been extremist groups in Syria because of the fitna and the revolution that happened. Yeah. And this man, he's an unknown man, Aslan. He's not a ruler. How did you make him a ruler? I don't understand. Yeah, it's a group of people, unknown group of people. I don't even know who they're affiliated with. But this statement is a statement of the Khawarij. Why? He wants to free Medina and Mecca. Free them from what, Habibi? Free them from what? They have rulership there. It's a kingdom, and it's being ruled, alhamdulillah, by Muslim rulers. Yeah. So anybody says, relax, you should enter. If you're a Muslim, you should have ghira. You should be religiously jealous and get worked up about this. What do you mean you want to free it? It's free already. It's for all Muslims. So no, this is absolutely rejected that somebody would say that. And this is what I said. I never said about this ruler or that ruler. Stop putting words in my mouth. Kadhab, ya akhi, this is kadhib. This is a lie, and you know you're lying. Number three, he said he never criticized Israel. I've criticized Israel many times, Zionism, Israel. Criticized them many times in many videos, tweets, whatever. And I'll criticize that. I condemn Israel for the transgression and the killing of the Palestinians and what they're doing there in Gaza. I stand with the Palestinians. I always say this. So, dear brothers and sisters, not anybody who comes online starts talking about someone like this without no proof, no evidence, nothing. You believe him quickly. Yeah, subhanAllah, if the Dajjal comes, what are you guys going to do? If this clown, wallahi clown, sorry I say this, but this guy's playing you. It's a circus. He's just saying things, random things, and people are believing him. It's a calamity. Muslims, the foundation of a Muslim is that what's the dalil? You always ask, what's the dalil? What's the proof? Islam taught us this. Quran taught us. The Prophet ﷺ taught us. Then why in Islam we have ilm al-hadith, the science of hadith? Because we want to authenticate whatever statement that's been said about the Prophet. No, wait. Where's the narration? I need the chain of narration. Is this reliable? This is how a Muslim is. Not anybody who comes on YouTube starts blabbing and yapping about something, you believe him. Maskhara hadi. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah forgive all of you, and may Allah punish this guy or guide him. Punish him or guide him. Allah knows his affairs. Allahu a'lam.
So, brothers and sisters, I know there is a lot to take in from both sides. And for me, when I started podcasting and kind of going to Speaker's Corner, this is one of the reasons I didn't like to kind of get involved in debates and discussions and so forth. It's very hazardous. It's got to be one of the most, I think you need a hard hat and safety boots when you go to Speaker's Corner, or if you are a da'i, because you are always going to get your, you're going to need a yellow safety hat, probably a high vis also. If you're lucky, you probably get a clipboard to make you look a bit more important. But nevertheless, brothers and sisters, you heard two narratives there. And this has been going on for many a years if you have been following these two individuals. And it has to come to an end. There's no good from this at all. To my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, this all began many years ago, like I said, when Brother Shamsi from Salafi Publications was at Speaker's Corner, and then that happened. They had some issues with Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab and so forth. And of course, Brother Faris Al-Hamadi speaks highly of Brother Shamsi because also they are upon the ideology of the Salafi manhaj. So I think it's a beginning from there. But for me, it's a bit too much. There has to be some peace and reconciliation among the da'is, or stay quiet. Let the ulama talk. I'm going to end my little monologue here, and I really want you to digest these two clips. So, Brother Yemini, of course, Jazakumullah khair, thank you patiently for waiting. I'd love to ask you the question, what do you think of these clips that we just played?
Well, I mean, subhanAllah, one is based on the evidence and one is not. And, what we have seen is, we know that there is a feud between certain du'at based on aqidah and fiqh, So it's not, to say that the du'at are in the same sort of, are upon the same manhaj is an incorrect thing. And this is why we see what we see. And unfortunately, sometimes it does, become an emotional battle between two parties, not necessarily between certain individuals, but two parties. So we, as you said, we always follow the evidence. We don't put our emotion into it because we could easily be misguided by our emotion. And indeed, the shaitan feeds on our emotions to lead us astray. So what is the evidence? Okay, so first and foremost, what Ali, may Allah guide him, guide us all, and keep us steadfast on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. What he was mentioning about, our brother Faris, was incorrect. There is no, he doesn't work as a bodybuilder, or trains professionally to be a bodybuilder or whatever that entails. And the evidence of this is that Faris, mashallah, he was able to name some of the ulama that he studied under. Okay. Now, if you want the number of years, I myself don't know. He's claiming 15 years. It's easy for you to get a hold of the names and say, well, look, if we think that Brother Faris is lying about these mashayikh and that he studied under them, then get a hold of them. Especially if you're in the Muslim countries, you should be able to get a hold of these. So yeah, regardless, okay. So there are certain accusations that are untrue, okay, and this is, as Brother Faris mentioned, this is not something that Muslims should do. With now, with regards to the claim of a ruler now in Syria, let's be very clear. The only people that are calling the HTS group the de facto leaders, and Jolani is the de facto leader of Syria, is the West. The Syrians do not acknowledge him as the de facto ruler. This is the status quo at the moment. He wasn't put into a position of power by the Syrian people. he took power. So it's a coup. It's a coup. So it's not something that was there wasn't like a shura or something where he was appointed as the leader of Syria. And we know, and why is he the de facto ruler for the US and Western allies? Because of course he was part of ISIS and Al Qaeda. Okay, now what as I said before, what are the guarantees that we have that he's changed? We have none whatsoever. In fact, he was speaking to the US delegates and even BBC reporters recently, and he was very hesitant on even mentioning that alcohol will not be permitted, right? Which is not a controversial thing. But subhanallah, when he was speaking about the women's education, he was saying, "Oh, it's not going to be like Afghanistan. We're not going to do the Sharia, like they do in Afghanistan." And the comments that we heard in the clip with regards to those soldiers who were saying we were going to enter Masjid al-Nabawi, Masjid al-Haram, you have to understand that they are from his camp. So it's not like you can have husn al-dhan in terms of, well, they might be a specific group from that army. No, this is his camp. This is his force. So he would be recruiting the people that are on the same ideology in order to do what he has done in terms of a coup. So this see, and as we know, we judge by what we can see. No worries, inshallah. Okay. Now the like I said, in terms of the boycotting issue, there is nothing in the Quran or the Sunnah that says you have to boycott. Right now, people have argued. There are two sides to the argument, of course. Some people have say, well, if you boycott, then you reduce the you don't allow them to have any money that can then be used by those companies to donate to forces that bomb our people. And this is true. This is true. You can do this. But then again, to say, if there's two extremes, there are those extremes that say you can't boycott, and then there's the other extreme where it's you have to boycott, and if you don't, you're helping the enemy. This is both sides are extreme. In fact, the Rasul used to trade with the Jews, even though the Jews would use that money to buy arms and ally themselves with with the Quraysh and so on and so forth. So trade, even with your enemy, is permissible. However, it's unfortunately, but there are two sides to this, which goes to certain extremes. We've seen where Ali Dawah is really having to go at Faris for having a McDonald's and whatnot. But why are you making it seem like that's something that he cannot do? This is not. There is no evidence to say that he cannot do that. So that's my thoughts with regards to the clip. But this sort of, goes back to what I was saying, in the last one, in terms of the, and just to clarify, when I said about Bashar al-Assad coming back, it was never to appoint him as the leader. It was because he was a linchpin. So even Faris, he was happy that the fact that the Syrians were liberated from his rule, but he understood that this is not the end. And in fact, doing this happening is not actual freedom for the Syrian people. And I agree. When we talk about the freedom, okay, this means khalas, there's going to be peace, there's going to be stability, but we are far from that. We are way far from that. Like we said, the de facto ruler in Syria is a Jolani, according to who? The West. Because you still have, and he's still deemed as a part of a terrorist group, and the only reason they are thinking about removing this tag of terrorist to him is because now they are backing the winning horse. because they at first they were backing the SDF in Syria. That didn't help. That didn't work, right? So they're like, oh, okay, well now they're a terrorist organization. Before it wasn't. The SDF was not a terrorist like organization. They are now being called a terrorist organization because they are losing. So the title or the tag of terrorist, the designation of terrorist organization, is based on what the West feels their interests lie. So it's all about U.S. interest, right? And this is why you've had the U.S. delegation speaking to Joe Lerner. This is why you've had BBC reporters going in, again asking the questions about the Western democracy, Western freedoms. And we've already heard Joe Lerner speak about how he wants to normalize with Israel, and what is he actually doing with regards to removing the IDF from Syrian territory, right? Absolutely none. Okay. Now we spoke about Assad being a disbeliever and whatnot, and of course, so. But what now we've got Jolani, who we say he is a Muslim, okay, because of how he identifies himself and whatnot. But what do we actually know about him? We don't actually know much about him. What we do know about him, okay, is that he himself has been killing Muslims throughout the last 14 years, part of organizations that have been killing Sunni Muslims for the past 14 years. So we got to think about this rationally, not like the emotions I can see blurting through the comments at the moment. We have, of course, brother Amir, who is the in-house Syrian, who is proudly saying, yes, this is our leader. And he's claiming to, he's talking as if he's speaking on behalf of all Syrians. Okay, this is not the truth, not true, right? It's a coup. And then you have other people that are saying I'm waffling, I'm speaking without any evidence, but you have to look at the history in the region. You have to look at what the US, I mean, this is stuff that you can see live now. You can see the US delegation speaking to the HGS group, speaking to Joe Lerner. You can see the designations of terrorists, who's being designated as a terrorist, who's not. So, this is the reality.
The question I have for you, Brother Yemini, and I appreciate your words there, subhanAllah, and I do feel sometimes people are unfair in the chat towards you, but we've got to move forward from some of the negative comments that are being posted. Do you think this particular individual and the organization will do anything for the cause in Palestine? Has he mentioned that he will go and free or help or continue to supply some type of arms or an aid to the Palestinians in Gaza?
No, I mean that's even despite what we've heard from his soldiers talking about taking Al-Aqsa, there has been nothing to indicate as such. Okay, now people will say, well, no, there's a double standard from Yemini. He's saying they're talking about taking Medina and thingy, but he's taking that seriously, but when it comes to Al-Aqsa, he doesn't take this seriously. There's a double standard. Okay, let's explain this. Okay, when it comes to Al-Aqsa, okay, you have to understand, again, when it comes to the history of this group, okay, HTS didn't come out of thin air. Okay, they have come from, or the soldiers have come from organizations that have been killing Muslims for the last decade and a half. Okay, so when it comes to Al-Aqsa, liberating it from the kuffar who created those groups makes no sense. Okay, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they are created by US-backed Jewish terrorist organizations. That's what they are. Okay, imposed on us to be the Muslim terrorists, okay, that we've been fed our entire lives. So that's their background. Okay, so when and I've seen when we were playing the clips when people were talking about, well, what does enter mean? Enter just means we're going to go into the mosque. No, when it comes to warfare, The hall, okay, entering a place means to conquer that place, means to overthrow. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so this is where it goes into absurdities. Okay, when you have a militant group saying I'm going to enter somewhere, all right, it's not to go shopping. All right, it's not going to go to Arabian Oud inside the like near the Haram or something like that. It's talking about taking the mosque, because he said, as we've taken the Umayyad mosque. How did they take the Umayyad mosque? By force. Okay, now, so this is what it means. You can contextualize these things. Okay, now, so that's why I don't see that. Maybe they want to do Umrah. Look, that you don't use that sort of language. Okay, you don't use that sort of language, especially when you're speaking in context of war. In fact, when Khalid ibn Walid, when he was fighting, okay, then he decided to go and do Umrah. He didn't say, I'm going to go and enter, okay, speaking in the context of war. He just said, oh, I've won this battle, I need to go and do Umrah. Okay, yeah, I mean, so anyhow, so when we talk about Al-Aqsa, look, first and foremost, you have to understand something. As soon as Assad fled to Russia, okay, the Golan Heights was immediately taken, okay. Syria was immediately invaded, okay, and taking full advantage of the fact that HTS and the SDF, as well as other minor forces, have been warring with each other, okay. Now, HTS being part of fighting for 14 years, knowing how to kill Muslims, have actually come on top. And for those who are saying that this is our appointed leader and everything, actually, Thursday last week, there were many Syrians who have been killed by HTS and the SDF forces, okay, in this struggle for power. And both were looking for Western, what's it called? What's the word? Not backing so much, but when you want them to be pleased with you. Well, what's the word that's escaping me?
Western, what do you mean? They want support, they want gratitude, or they want some type of but basically they want some type of communication, some type of aid, some support from the Western government, and whoever can. I feel, brother Yemini, myself.
Validation is the word I was looking for.
Validation. I do think it's still a long way. This is probably at the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. I think there is going to be a lot of bloodshed. There's no doubt about it. Every group will have their own type of thought process. And within that group, we saw a clip when Brother Ali Dawa was playing. That group was saying that they will go and into the Prophet's Masjid and in Mecca, that they will take these beloved sacred locations. So it is very dubious, some of these statements. So we have to be very, very careful. And to me, Brother Yemini, mashallah, is making a lot of sense. Mashallah, for somebody young in age, mashallah, you're making a lot of sense.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. If we can highlight the comment by Muhammad 821, where he tags me in it. No, not that one. The one before. All right. So this is a clear example here about how emotion clouds people's way of thinking. So he says, Yemini, can you repeat what you've just said about boycotting being extreme and that we should trade with Zayas while they kill our brothers? Rewind the video, right? Rewind the live stream. I didn't say that. I said there are two extremes. One extreme which they say you must boycott, okay? Otherwise, you are an enemy of Islam and so forth, Zionist and all these tags are thing. And then you have the other extreme that says you shouldn't boycott at all. That's what I said. I said there were two extremes. But I never said you should or you shouldn't, okay? Because that is up to you personally. What I said is that there is no evidence that boycotting is a must, Okay, and the example of that is when Rasulullah was trading with the Jews, who they themselves were killing Muslims. Okay, in war and plotting treason and so on and so forth. Right, we know the treachery of the Jews. So there is evidence in the Sunnah that trading with the enemy is permissible. Okay, but then you have the two extreme sides, which one says you can't whatsoever, and the other one says that you can, and you should, right? So that's what I actually said. But there's your emotion and your disagreement with me that is clouding your sense of hearing. So be very careful.
There is a lot of questions in the chat, brother Yemini, and if you want me to bring them up, I have put the link in the chat, and I've pinned the link. If anybody wants to come on, brave enough to put your camera on, you are welcome to do so. Just like we've got our cameras on, I expect the same from you. So the link has been posted and been pinned. If you want to directly ask or clarify anything from brother Yemini, you are able to do so. Let me just go through some of the comments. Bear with me, brother. I don't know if you saw the whole interview on BBC where this guy was interviewed.
By BBC. So.
And this organization is still a prescribed terrorist organization. I'm sure it's still on the list of, and I'm sure there was like a $10 million bounty on this particular individual's head. I'm sure there is from the American government.
Yeah, well, the thing is, this is currently being debated, right? With in the West, they're like, should we, because they think that Jolani is going to, settle in terms of power. He's gonna, there's not going to be much resistance to his takeover, right? So, so that's why they're debating whether they should take him off because what they don't want to do is be seen to have this war on terror, but then back a terrorist organization, right, in Syria. So what they're going to do is say, well, okay, we're backing them and we think they're going to win. Maybe we should take them off the terrorist list. That's all it is. It's a game, okay? Now, the thing is, when he's asking for proof of Jolani, he's saying he wanted to normalize with Israel. Watch part 1. But, if you disagree with me, the thing is, Brother Yusuf mentioned this as well in part 1. Okay? So this is not a secret to those who follow this, right?
Yeah, that's a good statement from brother Paul Bedson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Paul, nice for you to join us. The link has been posted and been pinned. Even our governments, the British, as you can see, the British Foreign Office officials have actually gone over and actually met him already, even though he is, or that organization is a prescribed terrorist organization. And I'm giggling not because of the group, is just because how how much hypocrisy there is amongst the Western governments when it suits their narrative. I really do think, brothers and sisters, they are going to do the same trick that they did with ISIS or whoever they were, when they got them at one location and then carpet bombed the whole area. I really think this is going to be the outcome. Unfortunately, I think Syria will be a killing field, and like they did it previously, I think they're going to do it again. That's what I think is going to happen, is that whoever wants to go and fight for this type of organization will be encouraged to go and fight. And as soon as this organization shows any dissent towards the Western ideologies, then they will be prescribed as terrorists and they will be eliminated from the area. That's my taking on it. I'd love to hear everybody else's ideas upon what I just said.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, like the West is very invested in what's going on there because it's exactly the same as it was in the early 1900s. After World War One, when the West was agreeing in terms of what territory to take for resources and to ensure they have control over the governments in the region, it's exactly the same thing. It's just we're seeing it in real time now. Back then, did the Prophet ﷺ really choose to trade with the Jews when other options were available? Yeah. He could have traded with Christians. He could have traded with people in Persia. He could have traded with the Romans. He could have traded with absolutely anyone. He wasn't cut off. Cut off from all the other tribes, and you know that question makes it sound like Rasul only had Jews around him. This was not true.
I'm surprised nobody wants to come on. The link has been pinned and posted. I'll do it again for the brothers and sisters to jump on. But all I ask is that you leave your camera on at all times so we can have some positive interaction. So the link has been posted again. I know it's a very controversial topic, and I think myself and Brother Yemini might get some thumbs down regarding it. But like I mentioned at the beginning, that we can't run around with our emotions. Previously, we had Brother Mustafa C join my show. I think it was about a week ago, and this Brother Mustafa C, as you are fully aware of, has been to so many protests here in the UK regarding the situation in Palestine, and even himself said that all these protests had no effect to the UK government's ideologies regarding the situation in Palestine and Gaza. Also, I want to make it clear: protest is not from Islam. Boycotting also is not from boycotting items or shops and so forth is not from Islam. So we have to understand that going around protesting, free mixing, there's been marches where there been like transgender people in the crowd, or you have the LGBT community in the crowd, and you have music, you have free mixing, and they are part of this protest. And for me, you have sisters who are being physically manhandled by police and so forth, or non-Muslims, or sometimes even Muslims. It's boycotting for me. Protest for me has no place in Islam. So Brother Yemini, if I've said anything incorrect, feel free to correct me, inshallah.
So one thing I didn't comment on was happening in the chat was regarding the difference when Jolani was commenting on the education of women. He was like, we're not going to have what Afghanistan has. Now, Afghanistan has the Sharia. Now, we had Brother Amir say, well, Afghanistan, they don't allow them to be in universities. In Syria, he's going to allow them to have universities. That's, well, actually, in terms of how the education system is set up, Afghanistan is more correct in terms of that, because what Afghanistan wants to do with regards to that is have women understand that their primary role is in the household, right? A university degree is more for women who want a career, who want to follow this Western idea that it is a uni degree that gives you value in the society. That's not what Afghanistan's goal is. We have to understand this, okay? Now, like, subhanallah, you have to understand that despite Islam inventing, the Muslims inventing universities, the first one being opened by a woman, it wasn't a system as such in a way that it is today, right? It was a place of learning. Universities back then weren't like, you know, a particular grade or a particular grade, you know, like a level of learning. It wasn't like that when universities were first opened. So you need to understand the history of universities. In fact, they were just universal for learning, right? And what it is today in the current educational structure is that a lot of our women who do go to universities, they are seeking careers and whatnot, and a lot of these get influence in universities. That is the stage of education where the influence is heaviest into adopting a Western ideology. Now, obviously, there are certain things that require a university degree. There are certain professions, but in terms of understanding where Afghanistan is going with that, what they are trying to do, okay, you need to look at the bigger picture. Again, we're always talking about the bigger picture, not these little little snippets and pixels of images. So that's what we are speaking about.
Yeah, can you just help me to my understanding? Maybe I'm wrong in that, like boycotting, like McDonald's boycotting other businesses. Is that allowed? Is that from the Sunnah to boycott like McDonald's and like other organizations?
It's not from the Sunnah to boycott. No one, there's no evidence to say it's from the Sunnah. It's permissible to boycott, okay? If you choose to not do something, right, not to support that, then yes, that's permissible. This has been clarified by the ulama. But it's not something that is a Sunnah or, you know, something that Rasulullah actively did.
Okay, thank you for that.
And people
There is,
are like, subhanAllah, people are like constantly taking what we say out of context. We were talking about Afghanistan trying to lean towards an Islamic worldview, okay, where universities are not taken into such a consideration where their ideologies will affect the women that go to study. We are not saying that women should not go to universities. Understand the difference.
okay.
You went to uni where you influenced. I never went to uni. First and foremost, you have to understand the university system as it currently is. Okay, to go to university, you must be in debt. You must go into debt. You must pay interest. Okay, straight away. The first thing they want you to do is wage war against Allah, because that's what riba is: waging war against Allah. Okay. Now, if there is no way, now how do people become doctors? For those who are saying, well, we need women to become lawyers and doctors, heard of self-learning, right? There are many people that do, you know, degree levels of, you know, professions without going to university. Okay, there are other educational systems that you can put in place which will avoid all of this stuff, which will get rid of. You know, people are making it sound like the university is the only way. I'm not university educated, okay, but I still dabble in things that are in higher education on university level. You know, in terms of information studies and whatnot. Okay, but I don't go to university to study those. There's other ways of learning.
Yeah, Brother Muhammad is still asking me about boycotting. I was on about like businesses here, like in the UK.
I'm not concerned about his, you know, I'm not concerned about this emotion, the shock face and the angry face. Did they just say boycotting isn't an obligation? Yes, we said that. You like it, you don't like it, don't care. It's there's nowhere in Islam where it says it's a sunnah. There is nowhere where in Islam where it says it's an obligation. Okay. Did we say that? No, we didn't.
But you made a good point. Even before you actually enter a university, you got to pay the fees. The fees are ridiculous, and you got to take a loan out. And sometimes you take a loan out, and then I remember many years ago, my friend who actually he's a non-Muslim. He actually went to university, and it took him about 17 to 20 years to pay off his debt that he had to go to university. So yeah, straight away you have to pay interest. You have to pay some type of riba, so forth. So you're already in the minus before you even go to university. And here in the UK, there's so many brothers and sisters who went into university, and it's been horrendous for them because the cost of university, the aspects of paying rent and whatnot, and they are struggling, and they can't even find a job that is suitable for their degree or their qualification. So it's interesting that the brothers are and sisters are not really too happy with the statements regarding sisters not having education. I think you're misunderstanding what Brother Yemini is saying.
So I mean, the thing is, look, Amir again with his typical "you're ignorant" rant. Actually, I spoke to many young brothers in over the last couple of years who are in Muslim countries asking in terms of advice with regards to uni fees in their own Muslim countries, in Egypt, in Pakistan, in Jordan, okay? And they were telling me, okay, some of them, or what they call it, were thinking actually to come to the UK because the UK was actually cheaper than where they were, okay? And I was saying to them, no. And they would ask me, well, what's my other options? Okay, so don't talk like you know. Okay, I mean, subhanallah, it's ironic where the ignorant claim actually comes from. Okay, and again, these emotional arguments. So not giving money to someone who spends in bombs to kill where is it, to kill your brothers isn't an obligation. That's an emotional argument. I'm saying there is nothing in the Quran or the Sunnah that makes it an obligation, that makes it a must. Okay, so I don't want emotional arguments. If you have a hadith, if you have an ayah that says it's a must, then bring it forward and I will listen. I'm not interested in emotional arguments.
Yeah, I'm just
emotional argument. Oh, but my brothers are being killed. Yes, that's true. Your brothers are being killed. Okay, but where is the evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah? Okay, that you have to boycott, that you must, that you have no choice in the matter. Where is the evidence of that? Okay, and as I've said before, our brothers and sisters are being killed. Understand, this is something we need to understand. There is no such thing when it comes to these conflicts. There is no such thing as a Muslim that has lost. Okay, unless of course he dies as a martyr out of so people can say he died a martyr. That he's a loser. But for those who are genuinely killed and genuinely martyrs, they haven't lost anything. Okay. So
we'll kind of move on to some positive note for a short while until somebody jumps onto the stream. We got Father John, who doesn't live too far from me. He lives in an area called Nuneaton, which is probably about 25-minute drive from where I am, and he has recently started a petition to get the flag of Palestine on the council house in Nuneaton. And I think he wanted to come on and share his thoughts regarding it, and kind of like let everybody know regarding what he's trying to do and what the aim is and how many signatories does he need for that to go ahead. So I'm hoping that he'll jump on and possibly tell us and point us to the link, and that will be awesome. But there's quite a few people in the chat, and if you want to come on, the link has been posted and been pinned. So please come on. If you're uncomfortable with your camera being on the main stage, when you're backstage, you can have it on before you come on to the main one. Then, if you want to turn your camera off, you can. So we definitely invite you to come on and have a nice discussion.
Yeah. Give me a second. I'm just going to turn the heating off. Freaking left it on too long.
So, Father John, if you're there, please hit the link and jump on. So, Brother Yemini, were you at Speaker's Corner over the weekend? I don't think I've seen you.
I'm working this whole weekend.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, so
Alhamdulillah.
self-employed, so I got to be working, otherwise I'm not earning.
Yeah, subhanAllah. I know how you feel.
Yeah, but subhanAllah, let's see. Yeah, what do you call it? Amir, I don't care how many times you sent a message. I said I already answered it. All right, what does Yemeni think of Palestinians supporting the Syrian rebels? Look, the general Muslims will do this. This is something that is expected, okay? Because of course the Palestinians have seen what Assad has done to the Syrians, and they are happy that rightfully so, that has come to an end, okay? Because they themselves have been suffering and being killed by the hundreds of thousands. Okay, so this is again something that you expect, right? So I'm not going to say to now, if you're expecting me to say, oh, the Palestinians are Khawarij and whatnot, no, this is an extreme view that I wouldn't adopt. Alhamdulillah, the path of Manhaj and Salafiyah, it's balanced. Okay, so and again, so Muhammad comes back by saying, you won't find the term boycott explicit mentioned in the Quran, but I can provide evidence that it's haram to financially support someone who uses that money to acquire weapons to harm your fellow Muslims. Okay, so again, okay, now we have read multiple fatwa by many ulama, okay, and you have them. So there is the fatwa and what they personally say. Okay, what you'll have the majority of the ulama will say to you, it is better to boycott. Okay, I have no issues with that, but they will not say that this is an obligation from the Quran and the Sunnah. Yeah. So then we have Surah An-Nisa 485. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's. I mean, come on. That again, this is not saying it's that these things are a must. Okay, these are saying what this verse is saying is that there is a reward for things, and and there is a burden from doing other things. That's all it says. So these are generic. This is an example, and I can only assume that the other will be as generic. Let's see, 5-3. And none of these, by the way, actually contradict with what I was saying. Yeah, again, so you're allowed to fight people, Surah Al-Ma'idah, after the sacred months, you're allowed to hunt. Do not let the hatred of people once barred you from sacred must provoke you to transgress. Cooperate with one another in goodness and righteousness. So you're not providing any ayahs that actually say it's wajib, okay? Sunan Abi Dawood for, at the end of the day, look, we've got Muslim brothers trying to provide evidence. That's perfect. That's good. Okay. And and we should always look at it when sources are cited, then alhamdulillah. Okay. No, that's Bukhari, not Bukhari. Sunnah, no. Abi Dawood, alright. Abi Dawood 4854. Rasul said, no man will desert a man who is a Muslim in a place where his respect may be violated, as was without Allah deserting him in a place where he wishes his help. Okay, yes, agreed. Okay. Let's look at the without Allah helping him in a place where he wishes his help. Yahya said, Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah bin Umar and Uqba bin Shaddad transmitted it to me, and Abu Dawud said Yahya said Rasul, so it's telling us about the okay, cool. Yeah, and I never said you shouldn't help. Again, not saying that you shouldn't help your brothers. I'm saying in terms of, because before you were mentioning about it being wajib, okay? None of the evidences that you have provided actually mention that this is a wajib, okay? Because again, when it says no man will desert a man who is a Muslim in a place where his respect may be violated and his honor. Now, again, in terms of helping helping your brother, okay, does it necessitate a boycott? No. You can help your brothers in other ways, okay? So I say Bukhari, Yani Habibi, you're citing a lot of references, but all of these are not contradicting what I said, because you're assuming that what I am saying is that you shouldn't help your brothers. Unfortunately, I think that's what you think I'm saying, that we shouldn't help our brothers and sisters. This is not what I'm saying at all. And why are you posting it so many times? Yani, subhanallah, 24442. Yeah, this is, nor should he hand him over to an oppressor. Who said anything about handing over your brothers to oppressors? Yeah, I need see. This is why when you're bringing these sort of sources, I think what you're saying to me is that you think that I'm taking the position that we should leave our brothers and sisters to die. This is definitely not the case. And yeah.
Okay, thank you for clearing those so many references being put in the post, and Brother Yemini, I think, went through one by one and kind of hopefully answered them, mashallah, in a beautiful way. We have got Father John backstage, and Father John has been doing some good work to highlight the situation in Palestine. Father John, you'll be coming on stage now.
Oh, yeah.
Salam, how are you? How's everything?
I'm really good. I just had some technical problems there getting on. I'm not the only one who's having technical problems tonight. I know that. But good to see you all. Hi there, Al Yemeni, and of course, Brother Mohammed, everyone watching at home. You want me to talk about the petition, right?
Yeah, you can share your thoughts also regarding what we spoke about. It was good to hear, because of being a non-Muslim. If you want to share your thoughts on it, and maybe it's a good way to interact with somebody like Brother Yemini, who has a lot more depth in knowledge than me.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely you can let the people know regarding your petition. And
sure.
Go ahead. The floor is yours. It's yours, John.
So. Thank you. I mean, with regards to the show, I've been listening to most of the show. I don't feel well qualified to talk too much about Syria. I'm not going to, but I think from a geopolitical point of view, from the point of view of an observer, and I would say a discerning observer, because I'm certainly not somebody who would be relying upon the likes of the BBC or the British media. I think a lot of us know that, we can't rely on that. But what is very, very clear is the disparity between what the majority of the media in the West is saying and what apparently is really happening on the ground. So you don't have to look very far with the internet, right, to be able to find other sources. So those of us who are discerning, as I say, we're finding out that there's actually a lot of things that just don't make sense. It really doesn't make sense, and the timing is extremely suspicious of the whole thing. So I'm talking about, the supposed ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, and then all of a sudden you hear about the fall of Assad, and as has been said in the show, the kindest thing that I can say about Al-Jilani is that he doesn't seem to have credentials, certainly not credentials that would make him suitable as a leader of any country, from the point of view of both his people and the world in general. But Al-Yemini's completely correct in what he is saying about the role of the West, and I agree that this is a coup of sorts. He's clearly been placed into position. I'm not sure that he could rely upon any loyalty from the West or anyone else, but he's in that position for whatever reason right now. And from what I understand, or from what I'm hearing, in Syria right now is not a place where anybody would want to be. You've got Israeli bombs falling on your head. You've got groups of armed men basically out of control, looting, raping. You've got people being arrested, executed, tortured. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. And I don't believe for 1 minute the sort of rhetoric of the West at the moment, in terms of just saying we need stability, we want stability. They have created instability right across the Middle East. And what we're seeing now is a new phase, I think, of chaos that can't really benefit anyone. So that's just my take on Syria. And I could say a little bit more than that. But as I say, I don't feel too well qualified to talk about some of the players involved in it.
Also, the question is, how will it affect now the situation in Palestine, in Gaza? How do you feel that would take place? How would that kind of like take its kind of like role now? Do you think all this is a means to cut the access from the Palestinians and their suffering? And so I'll let you unpack that for us.
You could say it's about Palestine, but there again, you could say that the situation in Gaza is about the whole of the Middle East. You could say it the other way around, because this is not just about one small strip of land in Israel. Clearly, it's about what Israel considered to be Greater Israel, if you like. And it's about the Western tensions in that region. But I mean, in terms of the impact of it on Gaza, I mean, 25 people were killed today. Probably the truth is probably a lot more than 25, but that's what they've been saying. Sounds to me like the Israelis have stepped up their operations in Gaza rather than the other way around. And I'm not sure, Brother Mohammed, if you've just seen the news a little while ago on Al Jazeera, Germany, all of a sudden now saying that they've read human rights reports that have shocked them about things that have happened in Gaza, and they want Israel to immediately address this. Now, of course, I mean, I'm not sure why all of a sudden this would happen, that Germany would be saying this. But let's not forget that Germany are, probably Israel's biggest backers. From a sort of diplomacy point of view, they've backed them right to the hilt all the way through this. So they really are getting very isolated. I don't think the people in Gaza right now, or the West Bank for that matter, are particularly helped by the situation in Syria. And I think that the long-term situation is still very, very bad. But my personal view on Syria, where Syria is positioned geopolitically, makes it a very important point, and that's been the case in history. As long as you want to go back, but in a modern context, Hezbollah have really lost their supply route, now that Syria is no longer under Assad's control. So I think that in itself is a reason, perhaps, for the Israelis to step up their operations in Lebanon again. I think that's what we're going to see. But we're all guessing, right? It's just impossible to know what's going to happen from one day to the next.
No, I would say the minutia of what's happening on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis is, of course, no one can predict. But, learning from history and what the West has done in the Middle East in the last 100 years alone, you can predict the bigger game and the bigger end goal for both Western allies as well as the Zionist regime. So that is very clear to see. How it is being carried out on a day-to-day basis, this is, of course, something that we have to not just speculate, but also think about what the worst possible case scenario is and plan for that, and hope it doesn't get as bad as we think it can potentially escalate to.
I mean, the worst possible case scenario that I can think of is that we enter into a global conflict that takes on a nuclear aspect. And of course, that's not specific to the Middle East, but I know a lot of people that are not interested in the Middle East and are only interested in the Ukraine war. And I know a lot of other people the other way around that are not interested in the Ukraine war. But to me, you've got several countries who are, Russia and America are players in both, right? And I think the big picture is that you simply can't take one place in isolation. But I agree with you. I mean, day to day in a specific place, of course, it's unpredictable, but there's a general trend towards increased global conflicts. And whenever anything bad happens and you're not sure who's behind it, you can normally take a guess at who is.
Yeah, I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head in terms of looking at both conflicts, whether it's the Ukraine-Russia war and the Israel-Gaza war, because both are, really connected. Not many people see it that way because they are, like you rightly said, focused on one conflict only, based, and it's mostly based on the bias. If you're a Muslim or a Middle Eastern, you wouldn't care about Russia and Ukraine. You'll be like, to hell with us, we'll fight each other. And likewise, if you're European, you'd be like, well, I don't care what's going on in the Middle East. We're Europeans. We need to see what's going on there. It's going to affect us. Yeah. But it's actually both really connected because NATO and BRICS really, the spread of NATO going towards the east. If Russia retaliates, that's going to have a fractured effect of NATO's and the US's hold in the Middle East and control over what's going on in Gaza, and that will fracture. You'll have the reunification of Muslim lands in particular, with the Arab League also being a bit, uncertain with what's going on with the Abraham Accords, considering Saudi hasn't come in. So there's a lot of players that are on the field currently, and people are only seeing the part of the picture and not the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, people don't talk about China much these days, but China are kind of quietly watching and indirectly, I would say, involved in quite a lot of the machinations that are going on right now. And, there's stuff happening at their end as well that we just don't pay any attention to at all because, I wouldn't even know where to look. But I'd like to think that if there was a conflict, for example, going on in Taiwan, that we get to hear a bit more about it. But what makes the Middle East right now a first, really, in military journalism? We've never had this situation where you can literally live stream conflict in this way. Even the Ukraine war is not covered in that kind of a way. But there are, of course, a lot of military bloggers who are tracking large units of troops in the Ukraine war because this is a very, very large-scale conflict. And the amounts of weapons that are being used in that war that have never been used before is unbelievable. The technology that's being sort of used for the first time, if you like, in this kind of a conflict, sadly, a lot of it has been created and manufactured in the UK. So, you know, I just want to say a big shout out to Ireland as well. My wife's Irish, and I have two Irish sons. And if the Israeli newspapers are calling Irish people Palestinians, then I would say that I'm proud to be from a Palestinian family.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I think the Irish have always been on the right side of history. So credit to them. You know, you know, no matter what it is. I mean, people always like to smear the Irish.
100%.
But
so
it's like, I mean, who doesn't hate the English? Let's be honest. So
even I do, and I'm English. I hate myself.
So yeah, I mean, and you know, I like that you touched on China, because they are the silent partner.
Yeah.
And I've always said with regards to China, that I think if things do escalate, they will be on Russia's side. I don't think Taiwan. I think Taiwan is a bit blown up in terms of the geopolitics, because as far as I can see it, how Taiwan is being treated, I'm more medieval in my mindset, and I like my history and stuff. So I look at Taiwan as a vassal state to China. Something that's already a done deal, just made to seem like something it isn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's one we never talk about very much. I would. I'd like to mention, if I can, about the petition that I started in Nuneaton. Is that okay, Brother Mohammed? I know that's basically why I came on the show. I can't hear you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just putting it up here on the screen, brothers and sisters. If you can,
thank you.
Basically, I've put the link in the chat already. But yeah, it's really simple to do. If you want to explain, John, or do you want me to quickly go through it? It's really simple to do. But yeah, give some brief history about
basically, it. I can't see the screen properly because I'm just holding my phone, and it's really tiny. Because I couldn't get into the show on my laptop. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about that. I can't read what's the writing on the screen, but I can obviously talk about the petition. Go for it. Yeah, is that the petition itself?
Yeah, let me just copy and paste the link into the chat. If you're in the UK, brothers and sisters, please do this petition. It's to basically, John, if you want to, I'll go through it first. Basically, brothers and sisters, as you can see, you go to the sign petition here, click onto it, and then it'll take you to another page here. Go to continue without an account. So click on there. It takes a couple of minutes to do. It's really simple. If I can do it, I'm sure.
I do apologise for interrupting. It's only people who live in this area who could sign this petition. If somebody in America or Syria or wherever signs this, it won't count. So this is purely in one area, the area that I live in. However, this is happening now across England. So far, we've got two councils that have agreed to put up the Palestinian flag above their council buildings, headquarters, as a show of solidarity with the Palestine people at this time of their suffering, which is only a symbolic thing. But it's meant a lot to people who obviously are supportive of the Palestinian cause. And it's caused a bit of controversy, of course, but in a good way. So, two so far. So, Brother Mudseer, who is another Workers' Party of Britain member, so I'm in the Workers' Party of Britain, so I'm a political activist. So Brother Mudseer in Birmingham started one there. They took a long time to accept it. The council did in Birmingham. So I got over the line first with that one, mainly because I hassled them. So just to be clear, I have to hit a deadline of 750 signatures, which isn't that many for a population of 100,000. to trigger a debate in the council house. And if they choose not to show solidarity with the Palestinian people, then they have to produce a public record as to why
We
not.
lost you, John. Is it me or have I did I lose you for a second, John?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. There's three aspects actually, John. Either you
Yeah.
work in the area, you live in the area, or
That's
you
right.
attend school or college in
Student,
this
yeah.
area. So there's three aspects of it. Either you work, or you live, or you attend college
Yeah.
or school. So if you know anybody here in the UK who lives, works, or studies in Nuneaton and Bedworth, please do that now. And it's my internet. Okay. No problem, Mehdi. My internet's a bit weak, but yeah, it's really simple to do. You fill in the name, your address, email, and it really takes about 3 to 4 minutes. So please, brothers and sisters, if you can do it, go and do it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you heard a bit about if we get the signatures, then they debate it. If they say no, they're not going to show solidarity. They have to produce a public record and say why. And if they do that, we're already organising a protest. We want to embarrass them. So this is what we're doing all over England at the moment, because there's people. Can I just mention? There's, I'm not sure exactly how many. I think 16 young people, a lot of them women in England, in prison, who will stay in prison over the Christmas holiday. They've not been charged. They were arrested under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act. And basically what they have done is, well, in some cases, actually, they have, there's the two girls who caused millions of pounds worth of damage in the drone factory one night. So they took direct action. And I don't personally advocate direct action. I'm not getting involved in that. But, you know, God bless them for doing that, because basically what they've done is they have saved lots of kids' lives, probably.
I support it. I support that sort of direct action, to be honest, because it's not terrorism. They were charged under as terrorists, even though there was no act of terrorism being done. But there you go. It's just more evidence that our governments are designating people as terrorists simply because they don't align themselves with their own interests, and that's all it is. Yeah. So, who are the real terrorists? That's the question.
Yeah, well, it's especially confusing now, isn't it? Because you know, British diplomats are going over to Syria and trying to make friends with people who were in Al Qaeda.
So yeah, I mean, look, it's like those memes, you know, that we see. We were told what terrorists look like, and this is what they actually look like.
I think some of them might look a little bit like Netanyahu.
A lot.
Yeah, are you aware that they're actually doing an investigation now regarding him, that he actually knew regarding the attacks that were going to take place? Egypt actually told him that there is going to be a possibility of an attack on October the 7th.
We knew this from the beginning.
Yeah, we knew this on October the 7th.
We knew this on the day it happened. I mean, you know, the Americans also contacted the Israelis. They went on public record. No one talks about this. The Americans and the Egyptians both contacted the Israeli authorities and said there's heavy plant equipment just inside the Gaza perimeter. You know, we think there's something's brewing. They told them that. We talked about this before, Brother Mohammed, about the IDF soldiers on the observation post. Many of them are women soldiers. Were phoning up saying, you know, I think there's something going on here. You ought to do something about this. They were warning him. But why would you ignore warnings if you were really worried about something and you didn't know it was going to happen already?
Yeah, it's in the Israeli media now. Haaretz, I think it
Yeah,
is, the newspaper. They are reporting it themselves. They actually had a videotape or audio footage of him.
yeah,
Actually, he wasn't realizing the camera was still recording, and they heard him like say that his plan was actually to kind of take over the lands of the Palestinians. It wasn't really to defend
Yeah,
or get back their hostages.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Johan Gallant was caught on record. Yeah,
Yeah.
And they
So
were
so
like,
John, so John, like
yeah,
as Muslims, I hate saying Muslims, as Muslims, we have a particular hat that we wear, right? And
yeah,
where we always see that the West is always trying to speak negative of Islam and the Muslims.
yeah,
You being a non-Muslim,
yeah.
would you kind of like sympathize now uh, and see the struggle the Muslims go through, even to this day now? I remember when 9/11 happened, that was very harmful towards the Muslims. All Muslims were kind of like looked
Yeah,
down upon. If you had a beard and you were going to go onto a bus, you were questioned. If you had a niqab or a hijab on, there'd be a
yeah,
possible chance that the bus driver would tell you to exit the bus. And there were so many attacks. There were people being spit on and so forth. Do you kind of understand now, like, or can you see the pain and anguish that the Muslims are going through, and how would you kind of like encourage the Muslims to kind of like continue with their faith and continue with the struggle?
well, it's two very different questions. So the answer to the first one is, I don't think that I've changed my mind so that much, because the only difference that October the 7th has made to me is that it's probably dragged me into being more politically active. It hasn't changed my opinion about what the situation was already. I mean, clearly it did escalate. And don't forget, I said to you that, my wife is Irish, and, I guess what that means is more than just her family come from Ireland. It also means that some of her family, and I won't say too much detail about this, were involved in the struggles, historically. So I suppose I could be specific and say that my wife's grandfather, who's a lot older than her grandmother, stood alongside Michael Collins in the Easter Rising in Ireland. If you know anything about the history of that, this is before the partition of what some people now call Northern Ireland. So I've been over there many, many times, and there has always been a solidarity between the Republican side in Ireland and any oppressed or struggling nations in the world. I know you mentioned Islam. I'm not dodging that question. I think that it's been very convenient for a long time now, not just since 9/11, before then, to sort of for the Western media to ham up the whole Islamophobia thing, which is very, very interesting, because it never they're doing the exact opposite with anti-Semitism and pretty much all other forms of let's say racial discrimination, by being accommodating and by clamping down on that kind of prejudice. And yet somehow Islamophobia is the most socially acceptable prejudice that you could have in the UK. Not everyone is naive enough. Not all white English people, let's say, are naive enough to believe that. Especially people who work in large workplaces, public services, work alongside people who are Muslim, and they would see straight away that Muslim people, because of the nature of Muslim worship, are much more kind of I suppose disciplined is one word that springs to mind. When we were campaigning in Coventry, in St Michael's, not too far from where you live, Brother Mohammed, but I won't give away your exact address. One of our Muslim members commented on the difference between canvassing outside a Christian church on a Sunday and canvassing outside a mosque on a Sunday. Okay. And the difference was that the Christian people would wait around talking for hours and hours and hours and not really move. They weren't really moving. They were out. They finished. They left the church. They did the worship. They were just talking in the car park, and they're there for hours. And then we went to the mosque down the road, and we were obviously handing out political leaflets. And people were just like running out the houses into the mosque, you know, a little while later, running back out again, because they were probably working online or something like that, maybe some of them. And so the point that I'm making is that, you know, I said to another brother, Mohammed, you know, it's because they're Christians only pray once a week. It's that most Christians don't even go to church at all, but if they do, they go once a week. So it's a completely different way of worship, if that makes sense. But what was the other question you asked about what my opinion of Muslims in terms of reputational opinion? I can't remember it now.
Yeah, I was just the last question was like, you know, your thoughts on Muslims themselves and the practices of the Muslims. Has it kind of like been in because since we've met, we actually met personally, didn't we?
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you've got a lot of Muslim friends.
Yes.
Do you feel that you've got some type of not spiritual link, but you've got some better understanding how the Muslim mind works now?
I think, honestly, it might not be the answer that you want, but I think that the differences that I see between different people that I know that are Muslims is as big as the difference between the different people that I know anyway. I mean, I think it's very, very hard to generalize. Apart from, you know, the aspects of, you know, as say, worship. I mean, I have learned a hell of a lot, and I'm very, very curious about a lot of things anyway. And you know that because we've had conversations before about religion, just generally talking about religion, and it's a subject I'm very happy to talk about. But I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about Islam itself. But my impressions as an individual are just that if I told you I'd had some one or two very bad experiences with people who are Muslims, you know, that doesn't change my opinion of Muslims, because I've made some very good friends, including yourself, who are Muslim as well. So I don't. This is the thing. I don't feel any differently about Muslims to what I do about as Christians. I genuinely don't. And also as well, I take that one step further and say that despite everything, I don't have bad feelings towards people because they're Jewish either. You know, I really don't. Maybe the only religion that I'm not too keen on is Satanism. I'm not too keen on that one. But you know, I think the thing is, if being a Muslim or being a Christian does not make you a good person. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Not by default. You can have bad Muslims, you can have bad Christians, you can have good
exactly. So I would rather strive to be a good person than I would to necessarily find the religion that offers me a better way of living, or a more truthful way of understanding life. I'll be honest with you and say this now, and I think I know I can say this to you. I think I'm safe to say this. I don't have a deep faith in God. However, the way that I see religion is that it's not just about faith in God, whether it be one God or however many gods, but in this case, one God, because it's also about a way of living. You know, a lot of the teachings of Jesus Christ were not about God at all. They were not. They were not also about him being the Messiah. He wasn't necessarily saying this is God's message for you, but he was giving information about the way that people should live their lives, such as thou should treat others as thou would want treated thyself. You know, that kind of thing. There's some very bad stuff in the scriptures as well, particularly the Old Testament, which I believe makes up part of the Torah. So if you look at some of the stuff that Muhammad is Moses is in the Quran, right?
Yeah. We got to just move on quick. We just got to move on quickly, John, because Brother Yemini is going to another show in 7 minutes. The final question for Brother Yemini is that the term Salafi now, I've heard on so many media outlets where they've kind of put a negative aspect to the term Salafi, that, you know, these terrorists are Salafis and they're extremists. Final question, because I classify myself as a Salafi. And Brother Yemini doesn't know. So please, before we end the show, just give us a brief, insight in the term Salafi.
Well, the term Salafi is essentially at its root, it's someone who follows the predecessors. In the case of Islam, it's the righteous predecessors. Who were the righteous predecessors? It would be the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself, and the first 3 generations. So his companions, the students of those companions, and the students of the companions, right? That is who we identify as the Salaf. So those who adhere to those teachings, the best of our generations, which are the 3 first generations of Muslims, the Prophet, peace be upon him, being one of them, and of course the head. And so yeah, I mean, and because we adhere, we don't allow Islam to be taken out of, you know, like, just what's the word I'm looking for, sugar coated in any way, right? We don't like to be lax on things that shouldn't be laxed on, right? So like, you have a lot of Muslims today, if you say to them pray 5 times a day, they'll be like, whoa, bro, like, you're really extreme. But 5 daily prayers is one of the most basic things. But this would be considered a Salafi. Oh, bro, you're a Salafi, ain't you? You're telling me to pray 5 times a day. So it's those who adhere to the religion as it was revealed, as it has been preserved. These are the people that seem to be the extremists. And of course, from a Western perspective, those who adhere to the religion of Islam are the biggest threat, because we cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed, we cannot be fought. Because if you fight people who have their faith in God, you cannot defeat them. So who do they make friends to? So for example, here in the UK, you have the British government and the media praising groups like the Ahmadis, right? The largest mosque in Britain is in Morden, right? But it's not a mosque because it's got nothing to do with Muslims. But this is how it's portrayed, because they are the furthest from Islam. So what do they need to do? They need to vilify those who adhere to the religion, who pray 5 times a day, who are good to their parents, who don't, who give in charity, who fight in just causes, right? So these are the ones who are vilified, and those are the ones that can be bought, bribed, and are actual terrorists who are far away from Islam. Because the Quran, when it comes to fighting, the Quran says, if those people stop, you stop. You don't transgress the bounds. You know, you only fight those who fight you. You know, and you know, in the Sunnah we have the rights of the combatants, people who we fight against, their rights, and so on and so forth. These terrorist organizations, they don't adhere to any of that. Hence, them being the farthest away from Islam, hence they are the ones being supported. Hopefully that answers.
It's a beautiful way to end the show. First of all, I'd like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity to be here on the same platform as my beloved brother and Habibi, Brother Yemini, and of course, John Homer, my next door neighbor. John, I wish you the well, and I hopefully you'll get your 750 figure, and it'll
Yeah.
go into
Inshallah.
the aspects of debate, God willing. So, like I said, brothers and sisters, I'd like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, of course, I'd like to thank the people and the brothers and sisters in the chat. We did start the show on interesting aspect regarding these two individuals, and I still consider both of them my brothers in Islam. So I'm not gonna, speak negative about them. But one of them needs to rectify himself, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah guide all of us and guide me and keep me on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path that leads to Jannat al-Firdaus. Ameen. And the final words from myself, Brother Muhammad from Cov FF, is those salutations of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشهد أن لا